Hey, this is the Chair Guy. In several of my videos, I've encouraged students to noodle over the chair system, and I've had several people ask me, why would you do that? Isn't noodling a bad thing? Well, to me, it very much depends, number one, on exactly what you mean by noodling and how you're using that noodling. I remember in an interview with Frank Zappa where he said there's good noodling and there's bad noodling. And I really wish he'd expanded on that a bit because I think it's just an interesting question. So, what is noodling? Well, if you're learning your first box shape, for instance, and you're just playing those notes in order. Well, you're not playing, you're just kind of moving up and down the shape. But I think another way to look at it is that you're exploring, because everyone, when they first learn a shape, that's what they do. They explore it, and you're kind of like a kid finger painting, where you're just discovering color and you're discovering shape, and you're kind of learning what can even be done with either of those two concepts. And to me, the chair system is the same way, because when you start out with it, of course you're going to play the notes in order. And that's not really playing. However, you are locking those notes into your head and you're connecting your ears with your fingers. And as you noodle in more and more complex ways, you're doing the same thing, but it's just becoming more and more complex. And it's sort of like, imagine the entire fretboard being darkness and you're slowly inching that light out a little more. You're playing these shapes a little bit further out and you're just inching out into them. And so number one, that noodling is allowing you to explore the fretboard, but it's also allowing you to explore sound. And when I play over a backing track, sometimes I'll hear that backing track and I'll just hear a melody in my head and I'll try and find that melody on the guitar. But sometimes I'll just noodle. And I'm listening to that chord progression and I'm hearing the notes, and even though it's just kind of gibberish at first, I slowly I'm slowly finding little melodies in there, and so it's really, to me, like I'm bringing order out of chaos. And when you have the entire chair system in your head, in other words, these thrones, because they're all identical shapes, and it makes it much easier, or at least that's the way my brain works, you can find not only the scales, but you're going to be noodling over the chords, and then you can noodle over the shape in different ways, because you can start out on different letters, or I'm sorry, different notes, I should probably say. So if you're starting out on this note and you're playing out from it, you're going to be playing in minor. If you start out on this note, you're going to be playing in major, or the Ionian scale. If you start out on this note, you're going to be playing in Dorian. And so you start seeing the key as a whole. You're seeing it in all its permutations. And as you noodle through it, you're programming your brain to play in Ionian or Dorian or Aeolian. You're programming it to know what chords are associated with it. And then, of course, you're also exploring how to break all of those rules. So for me, noodling is just a tool for exploration, and it can be used for good or it can be used for evil. But I hope that adds a little bit of clarification to it, because I think some people thought I was just telling people to noodle all the time, which obviously is not what I'm saying. Noodling is just a tool, and tools are only as good as their user.